true meaning. The Dharma is vast and subtle. We now have a chance to hear it, study it, and practice it. We vow to realize its true meaning.
Good evening. Oh, one moment. And again, good evening. Evening. It is a deep pleasure to be here tonight. Inexpressible pleasure. Tonight, the fourth night of our winter Ango sesshin. Deep sitting, cold, snowy mountains claiming us as we're encouraged. Please, everyone, settle yourself on yourself. Anchor your breath in the very bottom of your mind. And deeply, fully, again and again, cultivate an unselfish motivation. Recall your intention to awaken in order to serve in this world. And just do zazen innocently, breath after breath, completely brand new. This is the best zazen. You can feel the settledness in this room, and I assure you in the extended online community. Thank you, every single member of Circle of the Way, for your attention and care. Nyogen Senzaki used to love to say and remind us that Zen is not a puzzle. It cannot be solved by wit. Zen, real Zen, old Zen, is spiritual food for those hungry to know what life is. So it's not a puzzle. Cannot be solved by wit. Spiritual food for those hungry to know what life is. So this evening, my words are offered wholeheartedly to the living continuous practice of Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh and the extended floating Sangha worldwide community. Silent illumination from the living fire at the tip of the candle. And many years ago, in the early 80s, Thich Nhat Hanh showed me a copy of a book that he wrote in 1973, a little white, well-worn volume, Zen Keys. And that book has been with me for decades, gratefully so, and most recently, prominently so. Zen Keys, where he takes a look with all of us at what a koan is. Public case, family story, official document. He writes, for a koan to be effective, it must signify something to you, to the one receiving it, to the one in the circle of circumstances of the koan. A koan is only a koan when it is your koan. So we've been immersed in 100 deep and old, more than almost 1,000-year-old stories gathered by silent illumination Zen Buddhist master Hongzhi into this beautiful volume, the Book of Serenity or the Book of Ease. Shoyu Roku, reading these koans and asking ourselves, which one is mine? What's calling to me? Tai reminds us, with all your strength, reject the attitude of a researcher. We are not here to research. Reject the attitude of an observer. Koans are not and never will be study material. In whatever way you can, he also begs us, renew old koans. His famous encounter with Governor Jerry Brown in California, who eagerly, excitedly asked Thich Nhat Hanh about Jiaozhou's cypress tree in the garden. How is the cypress? What is the meaning of Buddha and the cypress tree in the garden? That tree is dead, said Thich Nhat Hanh. There is no cypress tree in the garden. It is dead. So a koan is not a math problem. The solution to a math problem is included in the numerical constituents of mathematics, whereas a koan can only be answered by your own life. You know, I was thinking about the renewal of a koan, and there is the famous case of master and monk in the room together. The night is long and late. It's time for you to go, the master whispers to the monk. The monk heads to the door, opens the door, but it's dark outside. Master lights a candle, gives him a lantern, and just as the practitioner goes to the door, blows out the candle. And of course, everyone's woken up in the dark. Well, let's renew these old koans, even one as potent as this one. How about this answer from the haiku world? Because it's a snowy night tonight and cold. This snowy night, I use my black dog as a lantern. This snowy night, my black dog is a lantern. Feel how fresh and dangerous that territory is. There are no footsteps in the snow, just the paw prints of a fiery black dog. So feel what called you, dear followers of the way, to pick, to choose, to be chosen by the public case, the family story, the official document that called you. And it's been extraordinary to see complete beginners to the Book of Serenity, feeling the electricity, the circuitry, the connectedness of these old stories. They're fresh and alive. For me, I will never forget being at Tassajara Zen Mountain Center as a young practitioner, 24 years old, maybe 25 years old, not really having studied koans, going to Tassajara as a complete beginner within the culture of a circle of circumstances of San Francisco Zen Center, not knowing anyone. And one of the first stories I heard told in the meditation hall was the story of the question, Dungshan's question, turning question. Do inanimate objects preach the Dharma? Do non-sentient beings preach the Dharma? Another translation. I sat by myself and felt the hair rise on my head. Do non-sentient beings preach the Dharma? Loudly and audibly, yes. Why is it? Let me just get this right. Yeah, I'm going to just go for my heart. Do inanimate objects preach the Dharma loudly and truly? Why then don't I hear it? Just because Yunyan is answering Dongshan, just because you do not yet hear it, do not hinder that which does. And the do not hinder that which does. Hear inanimate objects preaching the Dharma loudly, strongly, gritty mountains, dead trees, the standing dead of this meditation hall, broken glass, all our mistakes, audibly preaching the Dharma. And of course, Yun Young woke up, came to life, and went on to found this very school of Buddhism in the heart and the depths of the Tang Dynasty, beginning could you please say the Chinese properly? I do not want to be Saodong school, Soto school. Finding it, and then passing warm hand to warm hand with no ancestral intervals whatsoever. Warm hand to warm hand throughout the ages. Dogen Zenji renewing and deepening the vow in the 13th century, bringing these teachings to Japan because of fire at the tip and live teaching and the deep questions. So we carry that tradition in as much as we can be authentic, unguarded, and alive. So Dongshan woke up. I did too with that question. It woke me up. If you try and hear with your ears, said Dongshan, it's hard to understand, but when you listen with your mind's eye, then somehow you know. And then he turned to his teacher and said, after you die, if someone asks you, what was your master's teaching? What do I say? And Yunyan simply answered, just this is it. Just this is it. You're now in charge of this great matter. Be most thoroughgoing. And he was. Look at the gift we received. The Dharma of thusness, intimately conveyed by Buddha ancestors. Now we have it, so keep it well. This teaching, this curiosity acts as a guide for all beings. Its use removes suffering. Although it is not created, it's not beyond words. And it is really not beyond words. The words are electric. They jump into the darkness. They salt the ocean. They deepen the rain. If we are alive in our sitting and in our curiosity and in our commitment. So I like to imagine in the fastness of this meditation hall, nestled in ancient Tewa territory. I like to imagine the ones in the mountains of southern China. They're hidden in the folds of the mountains south of the Yangtze River, beginning with Hui Nung, who was an illiterate farmer who pounded rice to be near to a teacher who had that spark of life. He pounded rice. He was assigned to work pounding rice. Pound for 8 months, solidly pounding rice. They knew each other. The teacher stopped by and said, "Is the rice white yet?" "It's white," said Hui Ning, "but it's not sifted." The staff with the sieve. To discern is to sift the kernel of life from all the chaff, from all the winnowed, threshed, broken parts, so you can taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching. And that's how they communicated. That's language. That's old language. That's language at the bottom of the roots. And they met each other, and then their disciples fanned out, tucked into the mountains, into the folds of the living mountains. They took their names from the mountains. Grass hut, stone cliff, perfume river. All their names from their mountains. And they practiced Ju Shan, free and easy walking, returning to the peaks, not for solitude, but because the mountains are alive with teaching. The mountains are audibly, viscerally teaching. So return to the peaks, free and easy walking, a great prescription for Keenhin. Free and easy walking, one step, one breath. Those who had difficulty understanding Thich Nhat Hanh at first, because his English was so soft and deep and inaudible to some, understood that slow, restorative walking. And in Latin, solvitur ambulando, I will solve by walking. I will solve the mystery by walking into the heart of the great matter. So we follow a koan, the thread of a koan, the thread, not threat, the thread of a koan, because it's a live wire and we feel the electricity and we're going to the source. That's our work. And sesshin gives us the stability to follow that thread more and more deeply. Now, the Soto house, Saodong, the Soto house has its own wind. Here's a beautiful, beautiful teaching. I'm looking. Oh, I think my friend is in the hallway. A beautiful teaching in Japanese. The wind of the family house. Men mitsu no kafu. The wind of the family house. It's the scent, the quality, the flavor of the Soto house. Men, meaning close, intimate, densely woven, like cloth. Mitsu means spun, loosely spun, soft cotton fabric. Ka, family. And fu is ka, family. Fu is wind, the wind. So this house, this tradition, attention to detail, continuous intimacy, soft, supple, multi-folded, warm-hearted diligent, not necessarily inward turning, but facing the world and helping to dismantle suffering. Wind of the family house. Every one of these Zen houses, 5 and more, 5 and still counting, has its own wind, scent, sound, flavor, breeze, breath, mystery, exhalation. And you feel it. So this one is soft. It's often faulted for being too calm, too quiet, not fierce enough, but in that deep wind of the family house, there is fire. And there is kinship. You know, the beautiful line from Kodo's teaching, you must go act within various kinds. Immediately, when that line was repeated yesterday, I thought various kinds, various kindness, kinship, kin-centric way, community of knowing, and not kinship that recognizes only a single family, but a wider family of community and kindred spirit, kith and kin and commitment that means we'll stay together in this wind of this particular family house, lifetime after lifetime. And our membership includes the mountains and the trees and the dust and flying dead stems of the grasses. That's what we're made of, and we're going to stick together in kinship. And this is radical right now, to find traditional ecological knowledge is drawing us back to look, to remember, to listen, to kin-centric learning, where every single aspect of our lives has the potential to wake us up and hold us strong and connected. So let me drop down now to the next level and confess to you that when I opened the Book of Serenity and looked at all the cases, I didn't magically, mathematically, numerically, by any kind of subtle powers choose. I read every case, and I could not get past case 89. It grabbed me with all its power, and of course, it's the story of Dongshan. And I thought, even without noticing, I didn't sort for Dongshan. I read all the cases, and I read after 89. In fact, I tried to go to a case I used to love, but it spat me out and said, shut up. I am so tired of you remembering me in the same old dead way. Get off it. No. Go where you're not so comfortable, and that's case 89. No grass. No grass. So permit me to just open this case with you. It's a beautiful case and very strong. And it's a vivid case because in many ways it's our story. The opening is gorgeous. I'll read it from the book. It's respectful to read from a book, and especially one so deep. Move, and you bury your body 10,000 feet deep. Don't move, and sprouts grow right up where you are. You must cast off both sides and let the middle go. Then you must buy some new sandals and travel some more before you'll really attain realization. So move and you're buried. Don't move and you're buried. Get rid of the middle. Walk into the great matter, solvitur ambulando, and take a listen to this case. Dongshan said to his assembly, and it could be This could be us. They're finishing an ongo, coming 3 months. We've been together for 1 month, finishing an ongo and getting ready to return to the world. I'll freshen it to us. It's the beginning of early winter, that delicate place where new life starts. And the end of winter ongo, the beginning of the year. Now, you cloud and water wanderers will go, some to the east, some to the west. You must go where there is not an inch of grass for 10,000 miles. Not an inch of grass, not an inch. And almost immediately he recognizes, but where there's not an inch of grass for 10,000 miles, how can you go? I had a wonderful conversation with Dinah, Wendy to Wendy, while boiling water for tea late in the night. I asked her, an inch of grass, is grass the same as weed? Excuse me. Oh my Lord. I'm just realizing, holy mackerel, grass and weeds. I did not ask her if grass was the same as weed. I asked her, completely innocent mistake, everyone. At least I have the decency to be red-faced about it. Dinan, is grass, is there a different word for grass and for the weeds that bind us to our life? And immediately she said, it's one word. It's one word. So go someplace where 10,000 weedy grasses won't bind you after this ongo. And then almost immediately it was Dinan who said, good luck with that. Go someplace where grass won't bind you for 10,000 miles. So here's the question. Is it possible to have deep experience of ongo and then go back into the world and not be bound and tied up by confusion, by the 10,000 things and the 10,000 miles? Shisheng said, and Shisheng is a student of, or he is Dao Wu's teacher. Is that correct? Dao Wu's teacher. I think it's correct. I looked it up. Says, going out the gate, immediately there's grass, teacher. So here's a voice from the Sangha. Go out the gate, the minute you step through the gate, there's grass. And Da Yang also in the assembly said, I'd say, not even going out the gate, still, the grass is boundless. So the dilemma, it's a binary dilemma unless we take it another level deeper. No grass, pure mind, no grass, bound up mind, oh, weeds holding us. Beyond all that, you don't have to go 10,000 miles to feel this dilemma. Just going out the gate, immediately, there's grass to deal with. And not even going out the gate, it's there. So there's no escaping the dilemma unless you have the heart and mind to break it open and look through it and taste it. Because for me, reading this koan, I, yes, of course, felt the bind of grasses and weeds holding us. And I also felt the vitality of grass in our lives, that each single one of us here in this room is made of one of the grass family members, one of the grains of the world that sustain us. There are people of rice, more than half the people on planet Earth now are made of rice. Rice is a direct grassy relative, gives us the strength to ask this question. In the early morning, we hear Senko calling this morning in the first bowl, brown rice, white rice, jasmine rice, all of perfumed rice, all the beautiful rice. I remember Thich Nhat Hanh years ago holding up a bowl when visiting San Francisco Zen Center, holding up a bowl of beautiful rice that was served, held it up above his head and said, "This is the rice of the perfume plateau of Thailand." I know I've told some of you this story before. This rice is grown and exported, so the children of Thailand have never tasted this rice, not a single kernel. May you enjoy every single grain of rice tonight as you have your evening meal. Holding up the bowl of rice and remembering when he was a young monk in Paris, living in the African section of Paris, he and Sister Changkom and family members of the original community there in Paris went to a shop where birds were sold. And they bought the rice that was used to feed the birds. It was broken and scattered and old rice, and that's what they cooked. That's the rice they ate to strengthen them as before Plum Village was founded. So we're made of the grains of the world, the grasses of the world. I'm from Northern Europe, so I'm a wheat person. 1/4 of the people on this earth are people of the corn. We're all made of the grass that we try to escape from having bind us up in our confusion. It's in us. We're in relationship, deep and solid relationship. So when we take this koan, we chew it 50 times. We pound it and sieve it and really taste the truth of this teaching, because there is no escape from what we're made of. Now, looking back now at the tatamis that run around this room, they are sourced from bamboo, which is a grass. They're woven, they're supporting us as we sit, asking us, can you go someplace where you won't be bound up in confusion and tossed away? It's a live question. And don't be dismayed by not being able to escape. Not even going out the gate, grass is boundless. Penetrating the monastic world, Dayang warns the assembly, don't stay by the green of unusual plants on the cold cliff. If you keep sitting in the clouds, the source is not marvelous. And what does the quiet monk and poet, extraordinary poet who wrote Cultivating the Empty Field and those poems, what does he have to say? Grass, boundless. Inside the gate, outside the gate. Go see for yourself. Grass, boundless. Inside the gate, outside the gate. Nourishment, poison, medicine, food. To set foot in the forest of thorns is easy. That's a play with the cloud forest. Cloud forest is an assembly of monks and practitioners coming together. But also to set foot in the forest of thorns is easy. To turn the body inside and outside, to turn the body inside out in the luminous screen is hard. Look, he asks, how many kinds? There's the word again. How many kinds of kinship do we face as we take up this koan? About to follow the spring wind into the scars of the burning world. So here we are about to follow the new spring wind back into the scars of the burning world. And we've never not been part of those scars, not in this community. But still, there's that tender moment where we turn and go through the gateless gate, made of everything we are, held up and supported by the great grasses of the world, so that we can be nourished and able to investigate the great matter. Shoryu harvested this for me. Look at how beautiful. Can you see? This is an ancient family, primitive family. It has thousands and thousands of members. A grass manifests as a single spear comes up, a single spear. And then it plunges down into the ground with a fibrous root system to hold the earth. This is one of the only plants that has this kind of running grass, bamboo, running grass, common name, running grass for bamboo. So the grasses hold the world intact and send up a single spear, parallel veins, and remind us. And each root has the capacity, when it encounters hard, tenacious, rocky soil, each rootlet exudes a tiny little bit of mucus to lubricate the adventitious continuation of the root system of this family. So not only does it hold up the world, but it also strengthens the ground. So there's no escape from grass. Who we are. There's no escape from this practice. It's who we are. We've sorted ourselves. You've discerned to be here. The kernel falls down on the ground. We're growing in stony, burning ground. And here we are. And, look at the stories. I counted again, read through all the cases. There are 100 cases. A good 15 of them have to do with grass and rice and planting. Zhang plants his hoe. Even the ionic fire comes into the ground at the end of time. And there's the balance of the planting of the single stalk of grass. As the world honored one noticed, this is a good place for a temple. What do you think? And Indra, the chief of gods, takes a single blade of grass and says, puts it in the ground, and the temple is built. And that's right, a single stalk of grass creates the culture of kinship and continuity, the wind of the family house, to continue tradition. And of course, there's another koan, a beautiful koan, also with Manjushri. This time Manjushri asks Sudana, calls on Sudana, bring me one stalk of medicine. Show me a single stalk of medicine. And Sudana goes all around the world and comes back with a single seedling of grass, a single stalk of grass, and says, this is this right. The whole earth is medicine, he says. Yes, Manjushri holds up the grass and says, yes, and this single stalk can give and take life. So these stories are very close to essence. And they're the stories of the house in which we practice, the Circle of the Way Temple, this peaceful abiding in a lively tradition. Yeah. And it is a tradition, let me just call out, for those of us who are electrified by language. It is a tradition of beautiful, poetic, sparse, and rich language, abiding language. Complications are auspicious. Do not run away from them. Sorry, not to give the beautiful language the proper quote, but complications are auspicious. Do not resist them, right? Do not resist them. So language is complicated. Don't resist it. This particular tradition, the teachers we're talking about are poets alive in the world. Soto, writing The Grass Hut, Song of the Grass Hut, Hermitage, and the Merging of Difference and Unity. They're conveying the Dharma through poetry, and we remember it in our bodies. So let's close with tribute. From the Song of the Grass Roof Hermitage. Living here, I'm putting it in the first person. I no longer work to be free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests. Turn around the light to shine within, then just return to your grass hut hermitage. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instructions. Bind grasses to build a hut, and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Can you please give me the closing words of the Gate of Sweet Nectar? This is our life. How does it go? One more time. This is our life, the length of our days. Day and night we meditate upon it. Thank you for your practice. Boundless, I vow to perceive it. The awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Reality is boundless. I vow to perceive it. The awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are
inaccessible,